Well, hello, everybody. We got a very special show today, and I'm really honored. I say that often, but this time it's really true. We have someone that's been a little bit of a rascal to get on the show. So I think many of you know Paul Hanna. So, Paul, welcome to the Stramaglio Show.
Thank you, Mike, for having us.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. And Lauren, we're always grateful for everything you do with the Breakaway team and the summit. So it's good to see you on the show with the big guy, the big kahuna.
It's my pleasure.
So thank you again. And again, we are honored. And Paul, this can be a fun show. So I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. If you could give everyone in the listening audience a little bit of a recap on how you started Blue and what drove you to it, and how many years have you been in business? So let's start with your little bit of your history.
Well, my history started in the office equipment business September 1986. And it was my first real job after an attempted sports career for a couple of years after college. And I started with the company and as a salesperson, 100% commission salesperson, worked my way up the system. 11 months promoted to sales manager, 2 years later, general sales manager, VP, and then terminated by a venture capital company. Voila, Blue Technologies, July 5th, 1995. We had our 30-year anniversary last year. So that's the history in a nutshell, and it's been a great, fun ride, and I'm not done riding.
So 30 years, congratulations. And Lauren, he just summed up 30 years of ups and downs and sideways in a brilliant way. And Paul, I got to imagine the 30 years have given you pretty much just about everything good and bad you could deal with, including COVID, so which we don't want to talk about. So looking back on your 30-year history, what would you say for the audience? What drove you to starting your own business? And it couldn't be just opportunity. And how, if you were going to talk to the young Paul today, what would you tell that young Paul?
Well, if you start back with starting it, it's probably very similar to many of us in the industry. We started in the sales background, and some event happened that got us into starting our own business. In my particular case, the venture capital company, the company I work for, decided to terminate me because I looked like it wasn't a lot of money, but it looked like I was making money. And rather, they terminated me with a non-employment contract. That was in 1995. It was a blessing in disguise. Myself and a handful of very, very close friends and members of my management team, they said they were with me, whatever I did. So we started the company. They all came. Short period, over probably the first year to two, 54 people came from my previous employer. And they went bankrupt, restarted a few times, and we took off. And from day one, the first day was at a table. 4 of us, we sold 11 machines. First day in business, 1 phone, 1 table.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to come back to your history a little bit after I visit with let's just talk to Lauren. So how long have you been with Blue, Lauren?
I am about to start my 16th year, so 15 years.
Wow. So you've been pretty much half of that 30 years.
It's crazy to think about because I remember him starting Blue, and I was so young, and we didn't always know I would end up here. But once I was in college, that's a whole story. But I knew I'd end up here one day after I graduated college, but I thought it was when I was going to be an adult, and I just turned 40. So I kind of thought maybe around this time of my life, but nope, 15 years ago, I had a opportunity to take one of 2 jobs, leaving my first job out of college. And I asked my dad to lunch, and I was going to take him to lunch and pay for it. And then he changed where we were going to Delmonico's, which is a nice steakhouse. And I was not making any money then. And I was like, okay. And I presented both my offers and said, I want your opinion on this. And he said, interesting. What about coming to Blue? And then long story short, he had me meet with one of the partners the next morning at 6 a.m., about an hour away from me, which once you're out of school, you're like, what is this? And I was really, nervous to come, and I didn't want to disappoint anyone and let anyone down. But the next thing I knew, I put my 2 weeks notice in and started at Blue. So
did you ever think when you were well, you saw what he was doing and starting the company, like you said. Did you imagine that this would be a normal path for you? That that's something you wanted to pursue?
Like specifically, I was always inspired by watching him build Blue from nothing. I remember when there was no office to go to on Take Your Daughter to Work Day. They were really starting to build the whole company. You know, he tells a story about him and his partners in the phone. I mean, that's a foundational core memory of mine of hearing that. You know, so I knew I always wanted to probably do the business thing. I had some medical school aspirations, probably imposed on by this guy over here, but I knew I wanted to get into business. And then as I kind of graduated college, I really realized one day I would want to, you know, help perpetuate and grow Blue. Uh, but I didn't think it would be as early as it was, but at all.
So when you started at Blue, you started. What was your first position?
I was a territory sales manager. I had Paul's old territory, and I had a new sales manager, and I had a target on my back of I had to perform. There was no.
She was a sales rep, but she had to earn it.
Yeah.
She didn't have any cushion salary.
The rep I had replaced and maybe ruffled a few feathers in that territory, and
So Paul, you made her make the calls and do the work.
Well, she at ground level. That's the only way to learn our
Only way.
business.
Yeah.
And she is Blue through and through.
So I'm looking at you two, and I can't help, and Lauren, you know this. You know, I look at you and I think these are questions I want to ask my daughter. So they're the same as, you know, I feel like I'm Paul, I'm the dad, and I know what it's like to work with my daughter. And you and Jenna are very independent and very, very smart ladies, and funny. So looking at your career now over these 15 or so years working with your dad, what was the biggest challenge for you in working with a number one, somebody hugely successful like Paul, and he happens to be your dad?
the biggest challenge I would say is learning how to communicate my ideas without them coming off as like an attack or a jab at what he's built, because what him and his partners have built, it's honestly unmatched, right? You know, I remember actually a core memory here. He came back from a CDA conference and said, he sent me a text that said, "It's not just you, you're all weird." And he was talking about something about generationals. "You all think different than me. I need your help to help translate this." And I was reading the text, and this is before he really got into texting. So he only texted like animal photos from his hunting trips before that. But I was in Columbus. I remember it like it was yesterday. And so we talked. He told me all about the presenter, and we formed a committee here, and we brought different generations in. But he wasn't sitting in that committee. We presented to the executive team, and we came up with these ideas of areas that, you know, of improvement or opportunity. But I sat there and I talked to that team and said, you cannot knock the way we do it today, because the way we do it today is what got us here. It's just how do we honor that and respect that? Because without that, we wouldn't be here. We would have different problems or maybe not be in business. So I can give you one example is everyone wanted company cell phones. That was like a big thing. Well, we did a PowerPoint slide of a roll of quarters, because I remember the car phone, the actual like mounted car phone, a physical map, a piece of snail mail, and a payphone, and then the next slide was all an iPhone. Because we're not saying it's crazy that, you know, you're so antiquated or old because you don't have a cell phone policy. It's just this is where we're at today. You check in with your reps every day on text and the phone. So I think that was the biggest challenge, you know, to learn how to communicate it in a way that didn't put him on defense, right? Understandably.
So I'm going to turn it over to Paul. A similar question, because then I want to come back and do a follow up with both of you on this. So, as a dad and a boss, what was the biggest challenge for you, Paul, in mentoring, guiding, and helping Lauren actually be a success?
Well, Mike, that's a good question. Very tough one to answer, because in the beginning, I actually used a gentleman that's worked with me. He's retired from me now, the original founder with me. He was a manager under me and through the system, and he was the number 2 shareholder at the time. I used him because it was very difficult, because I have an aggressive personality that sometimes likes to stay quiet. And rather than get in her face, I utilized him in the beginning. And that kind of helped smooth it out because obviously you have a daughter in the business. It's not always, many of our other people on this broadcast know it's a different, when you have a strong personalities that sometimes clash. But I will say one thing for sure is that I've been very fortunate because Lauren, I think, she's her IQ is way better than mine, way higher than mine. So she's starting to figure things out, especially over the last couple of years. But it's a difficult journey because it's a tough business when we're in the trenches, and I'm still in the trenches. It's a battle, and we're used to battling. So I think it takes a good team environment, and it's an everyday event that we're working on to improve.
So when you're working with Lauren, what was the most pleasant surprise from both perspectives, professional and personal? What was the biggest thing that made you go, wow, I never would have guessed that?
Professional side is really easy because she works. In fact, she works too hard. I want her to have some free time, but she works and she's competent and she produces. And in our business, I mean, outside of admin and service and warehouse, everybody in our company, the philosophy is based on selling. And so Lauren does sell. She directly sells, and she's good at it. So that's the positive note. On the personal end, it's sometimes you don't want to take it home with you, but it can be a little frustrating. But we're working through it. I think probably at the best stage in the last 5 years, but it's not easy. But in the end, it's going to be rewarding for both her and me.
So it's kind of similar input from you, Lauren, personal and professional. What surprised you and made you better?
So I think professionally, I am just very fortunate to have Paul, my dad, but also Billy Nelson, one of our owners, Dave Morrow, one of our owners, to learn from. I'm a very analytical human being. I'm a very big, I love the data. I love the nerd. So I think professionally, embracing the technology and the team and the resources, that is something I didn't really see. My approach to success growing up was pretty solo. It was much more on me, where I heavily rely on the people around me. And I learned that from my dad and the other partners. You can't do it all. You got to have a team. So professionally, I think that was probably the most surprising thing. And I think personally, how much I love this career still. I have 2 little kids. Jenna and I talk a lot about our children because we have, mine are 6 and 5. But I'm excited to tell them and bring them here and talk to them about the problems mommy solves. And, it's amazing how as much as you want to say that you want to have a separate personal life, my career is a part of who I am, and I'm proud of that. And I love this crazy industry. So it does trickle in over, and I hope that I'm a good role model for my daughters one day.
So let's talk about the industry a little bit. And I appreciate your candor, with those personal questions and answers. I'm personally always intrigued because of my own situation with my daughter. So I know there were a few times where Jenna probably wanted to knock me out, because she's subtle, right, Lauren?
No, never.
So that being said, you've got some pretty significant generational things happening in the industry. Paul and I are great examples of it, and you and Jenna are great examples of it. Why are you excited? You just said you're excited about this crazy industry. What really gets you fired up?
I don't do well with just status quo, and with the evolution of technology and AI, what the business landscape looks like today is evolving more rapid today than it has ever. The challenges that we think we're solving for our clients today are going to get solved, and new ones pop up at a much higher rate today, and that gives us a lot of opportunity to solve business challenges by implementing technology solutions. So it's never the same day twice. And so that's why it's exciting. I'm constantly having to learn. I'm constantly asking questions and learning every day. And that's why it doesn't feel like work.
Well, I'll tell you what, we owe you a big debt of gratitude as an industry, and certainly we, that manage the Executive Connection Summit, you have offered and given so much, back to the group and to the industry. And so, again, I congratulate you and thank you on behalf of the industry, because what you and Jenna do and the others is breakthrough. I don't know that we would have the same level of enthusiasm or excitement without young people like you doing what you're doing. So
And
thank you.
that's the best thing is the team, right? There's so many peer groups. There's so many next gen Nepo babies of us, but also, this industry is one where people want to share and help each other. And I think that is invaluable. Why reinvent the wheel if we can just take lessons from other people and come up with a better solution? So I'm very proud to be on that breakaway team, and I learn from all of them too. So.
Well, believe me, we're thrilled to have you. And Paul, hopefully you get to see her more and more on the breakaway team. So, Paul, to come back to you, and you've been through a lot. I mean, this industry has gone through a lot of interesting ups and downs. How are you feeling about, the next 10 years of whatever industry shape this takes?
Mike, I think I have the same flu bug that most of our audience has. I know, especially a lot of the people in CDA, is I just know that we're just a little bit, a tweak here and there from getting better tomorrow. And that constantly every day runs through my mind. If I could just fix this, if I could get this moving, we're going to grow, and it's going to snowball and keep going. And obviously when COVID hit, which is, we have to say, a long time ago, but there's still effects from it. That was the first time where we actually slowed down. And we've had some recuperate because our clicks never came back. Our IT business changed. We bought an IT business in 2013, and it wasn't necessarily a well-run company, but it had a lot of revenue, not profitable revenue, but a lot of revenue. And we see that, especially with Lauren's direction, that's turned around and it's profitable and it's growing. And so if we could just get them all to run, which we're all, I know that your audience and people that are in my position, we're all thinking, if I could just get them all to run at the same time, wow, we're going to take off. And I think that's a great motivator for the future for Blue Technologies and for your whole audience.
Well, it's an interesting thing. And as you know very well, we have this generational change going on. So watching the two of you and listening to the two of you is actually a very powerful message for people. So you're excited about the industry, and like you said, some tweaking here and there, and some good thought process going forward. You're going to kill it. So, Paul, I want to come back to you and talk a little bit more about, and if this might be a difficult question for you, so please don't hesitate to say, I don't want to answer that. But everybody has a key mentor, and I don't want you to feel like, well, I forgot to mention somebody. But was there a key person in your life that you feel really, really got you on the right track and helped you get where you are today?
I have several. Not a lot from the business. I mean, there is some from the business, actually, even currently. When I looked at one of your previous broadcasts, I wanted to see what it looked like. And I saw Melissa from Fraser, who was a very good friend of mine and Lauren's. She was a great assistant and helper for me with Lauren and I in our relationship. Sure. Because Lauren had a good relationship and I did, and I sit with Melissa and Bill a lot of times at CDA, and so I give her a little nudge, and she'll help anybody, but her and I got a special relationship. I think a lot of her. So as I go back through that, that's just one example. But the mentors in my life, a lot of them came back from athletics, Mike. I was from an ethnic family. My parents didn't play sports. I told my dad I wanted to play football because all the Catholic kids came over to the public schools after 8th grade. And he said, son, that's for the American kids. Go get a job. Until I got a scholarship. And then he said, oh, they're going to pay for your college. But I had a lot of mentors for my family, coaches. Coaches really stick out. I had a college coach at Purdue. Randy Hart was just a big influence in my life. My high school coach, Dave Newman, big influencers, because they took some kid that maybe shouldn't have gone as far as he did and helped develop me. So a lot of it came from that.
Sounds like you and I have a lot in common. I wanted to play baseball, and I was pretty decent at it. You didn't have to be your size to play football. And we had the same thing, the public schools and the Catholic schools. And so my father was pretty much saying the same thing to me, that same advice you got, although you probably played better than me. So
Well,
when
Mike,
you,
I'll comment on that for a second. So you see, when you take a look at the NFL today, you take a look, and you take a look at the offensive line and the defensive line, and that middle position. That's the position I played. There wasn't a lot of athletic skill. I could run and I could hit, but think of the size. So when I looked big in the copier world, there was a lot of guys. I was like teeny. I was like Tiny Tim over there. I was small.
oh my God. Well, I wish I need to see a picture of him in his football uniform. So,
I'll send
Lauren,
it. Don't worry, I got him. It's a
yeah,
handlebar mustache. Mustache.
yeah,
Ever.
we need that.
Oh
So,
yeah, I got it.
so when you think about, for question for both of you, when you think about all of the peer groups and all the people that have been helping so many people, and CDA, you mentioned more than one occasion. How long have you been a member of CDA?
But I believe I am in my 19th year. That's the
19th year.
Yeah.
And Paul, would you like to share your thoughts about CDA and how they've helped you get through and grow your business?
Oh, absolutely fabulous. I first walked in at that time. Barry Clark from Perry Protect was my best buddy outside of the industry, and before he retired, and we were just really good pals. And he was the guy that influenced me into there. And I was thinking at that time, because we had 8 or 9, 10 years of growth every year and good earnings, and I got in there and I saw a lot of dealers who were in the same position I am that were a lot smarter than I was, quite honestly. And they were all willing to share, and there was a good bond amongst the group. I made a lot of great friends there. And every time I go, I come back with something. And so it's an organization that I'm very proud to be a member of. And I have not met one person there I didn't like or learn something from.
And how has CDA helped you, Lauren?
I crave knowledge. I just love asking why and tell me more, probably to a fault in some ways, some people might say. But you let me go in 2021. He had me start with CDA, and ironically, that's where I met Bill and Melissa from Fraser, trying to save money on an Uber because our CFO is pretty frugal. But it was just eye-opening in how willing people were to help and learn more about us. And I still have, again, Paul already mentioned our relationship with Fraser, but we're in so many more groups because of CDA. So the exposure to the path to learn more was just almost reinvigorating for me, because I had just had my kids and I'd heard all about every single CDA. Paul comes back with his notepad and, we get a data dump. But I wasn't always there. And so when I go, they're fun events too, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going for the drinks. I'm going for the knowledge in the peer groups that come out of that. So.
I'm going for the drinks.
Well, I noticed when Paul was speaking about Melissa, you were smiling ear to ear. So she must have a pretty serious impact on you.
Oh yeah, we are very good friends. Sometimes Paul and I argue over who is better friends with her, and she'll laugh about that and be so embarrassed that we're talking about that right now. But her story is just very motivating too. Another female role model though in the industry. She's not next generation, so she has different challenges, but someone that is forward thinking and has that same appetite for risk and growth. It's infectious, right? And so that's where. But I also. She is just a wonderful person too. So she is definitely a mentor of mine for sure, and a friend.
Yeah, she's a fantastic lady, fantastic.
But she's on the breakaway team now too.
Yeah. So Paul, I'm going to come back to you, and we have an interesting, diverse audience, young, not so young, sales, engineering, all over the place. What's the best advice you want to deliver? What's the message you want to deliver to the young people coming into the industry about the industry and how to be successful?
I think that's a good question. I feel very comfortable answering that one because I break it down into kind of simple terms. So I'm a baby boomer. I think we know that generation, and we know what what motivates us, and then you go to different generations down below us, and we all have great strengths, and we all have some weaknesses. And the simple terms and all the leaders and educators that I've seen on it, the simple terms are is there's something good that we all can add, and we just have to be open-minded. And it's not always easy, but it's actually exciting to talk to some 22-year-old kid. We had a sales rep down in our Youngstown office. He's still with us, and he's developing. And I'm talking to him one day. He's 21 years old. I didn't even think we hired him until they were 22. He was 21 years old, and he was struggling a little bit. And now, in the last couple of months, he's starting to get on track. And I've had that experience a couple of times. And if hopefully he can learn something from me, and at the same time, I have to have my ears open so that I can learn something from him too.
So I'd like to ask a follow-on question, and then Lauren, if you could pick up the same questions. How do you feel about the impact of AI in your business?
What's funny is I had a speaker come in from CDA, a very good speaker. Anyways, he was just one of the recent ones, and I brought him in for our quarterly meeting because I was so impressed with it. And I think that one of the areas that with AI, I didn't think we were using it. After I get done explaining it, I'm using it every day into a lower level. As Lauren will tell me, but I'm using it every day. I use it in my hobbies. I use it in my personal things. If you don't know something, you can talk to somebody that'll help you learn it. And yeah, I may use Copilot. Lauren said, that's not real. It is. It's just it's maybe the entry level for the dummies for my generation. But I think we're pushing it really hard. I think it's to be able to go in and research a company. It's just so much. You come across brighter. Recently, I've been mad at our bank, and the new president for this bank that we have that wasn't paying us any interest all last year, which I wanted to wring their necks. We were dumping a big bank, and the president comes in, and this guy was good. He did his homework, and he did a great AI evaluation on the whole history. He kept bringing up stuff. He brought up my college stuff, and this guy did a deep dive in, and it was good. And it just came across well, and I complimented him amongst his team. Now, his team wasn't so good, but this guy, you could tell why he was the president. He was good.
Wow.
And his people got a lesson from that. And they're probably going to turn around and we're going to keep that bank, even though they didn't pay me any interest all last year on a lot of money. So we are using it, and to not use it is ridiculous today. Lauren knows the technological part of it far better than I would.
So how about you, Lauren?
So to answer the question about AI, I think that it's here. Just to clarify, Paul's using Copilot in the Bing chat. So that is what I was saying, is he's not using full-blown Copilot yet. But I have it blocked right now internally. So I believe AI is the buzzword, just like digital transformation or going green and sustainability have all been in my 15 years here, been different types of buzzwords. I think that I have a strong stance and opinion on the implementation of AI. I believe AI is doing amazing things to help enhance our deliverables, whether that's from the sales perspective of prospecting. There's no excuse that you can't go in and be like, where did you go to college? It doesn't make sense anymore. You need to research ahead of time and be more proactive. From a service deliverable standpoint, it's no longer acceptable to say, we don't know what firmware level you're on that copy machine, but we're a cybersecurity company, right? And from an IT standpoint, it's imperative to mine all of the history and to take the data and analytics and predict and trend out fixes. It's so huge, but it's not going to replace people. I truly believe our industry still exists through all of the turmoil that I've personally been a part of with the 15 years, but even the stuff that predates me, if it wasn't service-based, right? People still want to deal with people. And we have such an opportunity as an industry to use AI to enhance our service teams and our sales teams and our customer service aspects, and to be using data to drive more effective decisions. But I don't think that it's going to replace us all like everyone is predicting.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very happy to hear you say that. And I don't think it's just a boomer issue. I think it's just a humanity issue. You don't want to take that human touch out of anything, right?
Correct. I think that what we're known for at Blue Technologies is our commitment to excellence and our service deliverables. And I think that by implementing different AI tools, we can remotely diagnose the machines, the printers, like we do on a laptop. It's where our worlds are finally converging, right? We do this in IT all day long. We have remote monitoring agents on every endpoint that we support. So now having to help show the benefits of that to people that have been in the industry for maybe 20, 30 years that maybe were a little resistant to it at first. We just deployed 99 machines and built them, deployed them, and installed them locally in 30 out of area in 3 weeks last month. And we could not have done that without some of the enhanced tools that we've used. But that if it was just me saying, okay, we're going to push a couple buttons and never talk to the customer, why it went smoothly was the communication with our team to the customer because they had better data, right?
Yep. That would be the greatest crime of all, to take human touch out of anything, especially now that we have all these tools. So I have one final business question and then a little bit of a funny question. But through the years, Paul, you have worked with you can't make it without a great vendor, with a great partner or series of partners. And whether they're copier, printer, or IT, or whatever partnership you're working with during that tenure, what's the one thing you would tell any vendor right now that a good, successful dealer really needs from them to grow the business in this new era?
I might have a unique position in there because I don't know of another dealer in my circle that's a single line dealer. And I've been with Konica since 1995, and then Konica Minolta. We did have Minolta's color, but we're grandfathered in there. So, but we've been a single line dealer, and I think the relationship's really important. And there's got to be good communication, and you have to like your vendor, and your vendor has to like you. I do have that relationship. I do have it with Lexmark on the printer side. Obviously, there's some change up there, but so far it's been transparent and it's been good. But that relationship is really critical. I mean, at a recent top 25 dealer event with Konica Minolta, I saw the vision of Sam Arrigo that he presented in his team. And I got to be honest, I was pretty excited because we all have a problem with service techs and retiring. I think I have 4 retiring. I'm heavy on techs now. If I just was driving profit, I could have cut 10 techs 5 years ago. We never did it, and I'm glad we didn't. Some of them are going to retire, but that plan in place to help all of us deal with it, that manufacturer's got a lot more R&D money to come up with solutions. And I think that's going to be very positive hitting our marketplace, and I'm really excited about that. I saw it, my mouth dropped. And I said, really? And I came back and told Lauren something that they had already seen it. I said, I never saw it. How come I didn't see it? So, but it was kind of, they had already seen it. But I think the relationship is really important. And there's a lot of good vendors out there. Members of CDA, great relationship. And there's some that really, aren't as good. And I'm fortunate I haven't experienced it. My experience with my vendors has been fabulous.
Well, you know what? That's honestly what you just said is a great testimony to Konica Minolta. I mean, the fact that there aren't so many dealers that are single line anymore, for you to give props to Sam and Laura and, all the folks over at Konica Minolta we know so well. They've been managing your business for all these years and you're happy with them. And that's a great referral.
Yep.
And by the way, Laura does ride around with us on the motorcycles, helping us with the veterans. So thank you, Laura. So how do you feel about the importance of the vendor, like your dad? And what's the one thing you would say? In this case, it's Konica Minolta. We really need you to keep doing these things for us better and better.
Yeah, it's something I've watched. Has been modeled for me. I only knew Konica Minolta, that's our primary partner. And I will tell you that my biggest mentor in this industry, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was my production print rep from Konica Minolta and then eventually our DSM here. But what they do well is communicate. And it's not that they've never made a mistake. We were a single line Konica Minolta during the pandemic. That was a little rough. It was how they communicated through it and worked through it as a team. It's actually helped me as a sales leader with our team. From a sales standpoint, don't take advantage of your relationships. You have to communicate. You have to work through the tough conversations and have them. And out of that, you'll be better. I actually work a lot with the IT side. I think it's a huge, huge, huge opportunity for the MSP vendors to realize. I do work with Jenna a lot on we need to have a true partnership, and she's done wonders for ConnectWise, but I can't just be assigned a new person every 6 months and you are saying, how many endpoints are you managing anymore? I want ideas. What are you seeing out there that's working? What's not working? I love when they bring things to us to say, tell me what's going on with this. I see this trend. Have you tried this? Connecting us with other dealers, other partners. That is the part that I can't use some learning language model to figure out. I want the connections. I want the communication. I want the relationship. And that makes it a partnership, not just a vendor relationship.
Good advice, good counsel. So, very important question. Frank Sinatra. You cannot leave the podcast without announcing your favorite Frank Sinatra song. So I'm going to start with my buddy, Paul.
Well, so my dad used to sing. So my dad was a fun guy. He worked 3 jobs, but on that Friday night when they went out, or a wedding, he was a singer. He was an entertainer. We didn't look similar, but he was. But New York was what he always sang. So Lauren pulled your screen up and showed me the most popular was. But my dad sang that song. So that's the one I remember the most.
All right, excellent. So your dad and my dad had a lot in common. My dad was a singer. He sang with the big bands back in the day. So how about you, Lauren?
I love That's Life. I think the messaging there, we've been through a lot. You go through life's ups and downs, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches and persevere, right? So it's the nostalgia. But I also have so many memories of my grandpa singing Frank Sinatra. So when you brought it up, that's the first thing that pops into my head. But I would definitely say.
Well, I love that both songs, and I asked the question about Frank Sinatra because it's a way to honor my dad, who was a singer, and now your dad. So we're doing.
My dad wasn't a professional singer. He was a good time Charlie singer.
Well, that works. That works great too. So, do you have a final sign-off message that you want to give to the industry, Paul? I'll start with you.
Yeah, Mike, first off, thank you for taking the time. I know that sometimes it's not that I'm difficult to get in touch with, but I'm from that old school where I believe that most of my time should be spent at Blue Technologies. And every time I go outside of Blue Technologies, I never make any money. So I always make more money when I'm here. And that's the philosophy I like to take. Where Lauren, on the other hand, she loves to go outside of Blue Technologies. And she's talented enough, she can still make money, and you need that combination. So I want to thank you for taking the time to interview us, but my quietness it's just my personality. It's not that I'm a quiet person, but I know my little world in here and I'm comfortable in it. So,
Paul, I've known you for quite a few years, not as well as I would like to have over the years, but from a distance and closer, and certainly today, you're a class act. You bring all the right qualities that you want to see in a leader, the integrity, the dignity, the smarts, the humor, and frankly, the kick-ass attitude that you always need to win. So it's my honor to have you, believe me. And Lauren, closing comments from you?
I appreciate being interviewed with this. I think there's so much to come in this industry, and I think that we can only thrive if we work together. We have a lot of generations in the workforce today, and there's so much still to learn from each other. No one's trying to get anyone out of the way. It's just all about what are the next problems and how are we going to conquer them. And I love that. So I'm excited.
Well, you represent, just like your dad, everything good about the industry. And it's an honor to have you on the show as well, especially both of you. And thank you for tracking this big guy down. And again, I wish you the best. Nothing but great success going forward. I'm here if you need me. And thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.